You won't.
Много добре дошли в основно училище Петър Парчевич.
I welcome you again to the primary school of Petър Парчевич.
Ние вече започнахме и разгледахме една немалка част от нещата, с които ние работим.
We already saw a substantial part of our facilities.
Ще се радвам, ако и навън времето ми позволи да работим нормално и климатиката да издържи на жегата, защото това е необходимо условие да протече добре днешната среща.
I would be happy if we can work in normal environment, especially if the heater sustains.
Ние с господин Николов сме тук, цял ден за ваше разположение. Ако имате някакви въпроси, може да задавате.
I and Mr. Nikolov are here to answer any of your questions, so please ask.
Успешна работа пожелавам.
I wish you success.
Well, we will start with Marie.
Woo! Our guest from France and from Germany.
It's all the same for us.
It's in the center of the farmers. And Germany.
Okay.
Okay, good morning everybody. I hope you're all woken up from yesterday. I'm not, so it's going to be I will, first I'm a PhD student, my third year at the University of Dijon in Bulgaria, and I'm working in Germany, but officially I'm still writing my thesis. Hopefully I will finish soon. We never know with those things. So, yeah, I'm writing on intergroup relationship in companies in Germany and in France. And my main point of action is I'm focusing on intergenerational relationship in companies and how we can understand them, how they work, and how we can make them better, how we can improve those relationships. So that's kind of what I'm going to present here and our approach and what I've been doing in a certain project at the Institute. It's a concrete example, and we'll see more later. I will try to stick close to my note there because I have a tendency to go on and to get off track. So I apologize in advance if I keep looking there. It's because I try to keep on track. So my title is Intercultural Intergenerational Communities to Promote Innovation. It came from two contexts. There's a huge demographic change, but it's not only in France and in Germany, it's all over the world. Our society is aging. So this has consequences. Give you a short, it's just a quick, I don't have any numbers later. It's just to show you that in Germany, this is a blue colored. The younger people are decreasing and the old people are increasing. And in France, it's the same. The older people are increasing. The problem we have is that we are also younger people increasing, so that's also a problem. So we started with basically a problem. It's a demographic. The demography is changing, and it impacts the new community. And it impacts the people we have in companies. So the consequence in Germany is that there's a shortage of young workers. They need more young workers, but they don't have it anymore. So what does it mean for the older? The elders have to stay longer because there's nobody anymore. There's no manpower, there's no human resource. They have to stay longer. And they have to find a way to transfer their experiences, their knowledge, their capacity, their competences. This is a huge database of knowledge that could disappear also because nobody is there to take the succession. So that's the problem in Germany. They need their workers to stay active longer and to stay in companies and to not leave the companies with the knowledge. It's all an economic reason because with the companies, when the companies don't have knowledge, don't have effective workers, then the money, they're not productive anymore. It's always money oriented somewhere. In France, we have enough young people. We have a good demographic rate. It's 2.7. I think we're doing okay. But we have a huge problem with stereotypes in companies. The problem is that young people are considered as inexperienced. They are considered as know-it-all from academic studies, but they're worth nothing, so the company, they don't want to employ them. They can give them internship, and that's it. It's enough for them. So big problem for young people in France to find work. And the old people, they're also considered as ineffective anymore. They don't produce anything. So they're old, they're just keeping sit there, and the first thing we want to do is throw them out. Get away, leave the place for someone. The problem is that in France you consider old in a company starting with 45 years old. Yeah, so that means that 45 or 50 you will have to find a new job, and you still have to live until 80 years. So that's a huge problem for society. Yeah. So the problem is that we have a high unemployment rate between young and elderly. What is the consequence of that on the social aspect? Is that there's a conflict between generations because there's a competition environment. The young are fighting to get job, the old are fighting to keep their job or to find a new one. It's a mess, and the relationship between people are. It's impossible to work anymore because the climate in the working environment is bad. People don't talk to their colleagues because they're afraid of losing their place. So there's a problem, there's a tension, there's conflict, there's a situation, and we need to do something about that. Which is good because it gives me a job, but the situation for them is not good. And the country also has interest into doing something against that because pension costs cost so much. France, we have no money anymore. We can't pay pension costs for people who will go to rent on 50 years and then you have to pay pension for them for 30 years. It's not possible. We don't have money anymore. Healthcare costs, because you know that when you don't stay active, then there's a probability that it's not good anymore also. So France also need to delay as much as possible the average age of retirement, and they need to find a way to integrate the unemployed young generation. So there's really a need to work on that and to improve things. Improve working conditions, improve working environment, improve relationship between colleagues, so we're not in a climate of competition, but in a cooperation climate, and I think it would be the solution for everything. So there's material, we just need to find a way to adapt to the situation and to use the potential of every generation. Potential of the young who has knowledge, the old who not lose their competences and make it work better. I'm not talking about the middle generation because they have it all. Middle generation, they have the work, they have the money, that place is safe. At the moment, the middle generation is doing really good. So I focus on the two extremes. Yeah, just that's what I said. It's a challenge to both countries. We have different demography, but we have the same goal. They must work together. We are extending work life, social equilibrium, and to still be able to be competitive, to be innovative, but in a better environment. And that's how we're much more creative. A point that I didn't mention. We have a growing individualization of our society. It's a fact. De facto, people are starting to focus more and more on themselves and not anymore on the community or the group they are building. And it's a fact. Group dynamic is it's a fact. People are working by themselves. They're not sharing their work because maybe also because they're afraid that their work will be stolen. I don't know. But yeah, we have to deal with that. So it was also a good idea to bring more cooperation, to start building this self-oriented society. And it's good for company also, because what can they do? A company which is a sum of individuality is not a good company. A company needs to be a whole, a working whole. So yeah, and of course, if we didn't have that impact, nobody would do anything. So you need to have an economic problem for the government and the companies to realize that they have to do something, so otherwise they say, oh, we don't care. So the economic, it was important for them that the economical strength would be impacted, the potential innovation decreased. Yeah, so they really need to do something, everyone. That's great. Yeah, so what we did, that's a question we asked ourselves, how to how to make that change, how to build relationships between people, how to not lose those people, and how to go from different individual persons, different little groups, to build a real community. And the first thing, because that's also our specialty, is how to overcome stereotypes. How to go over the first representation of a group, because we see individuals and we categorize them into groups. And when we categorize them into another group, that the one who belongs to, we start discriminating them. It's unconscious, but we somehow, I'm a woman, I see a man, he's not in my group. Maybe I will give him less money, otherwise the other way. Oh, it's a man, he's seen me as a woman. That's what happens in companies. They have less money, they get less access to higher positions. So we need to work on those stereotypes and prejudice. We need to develop cohesion. How to do that? It's this kind of reflection that we did, sharing a goal, maybe it will help, benefiting from difference, not seeing different as a danger, but as a potential to gain from differences. That was our reflection, finding what makes the other than me, but what can the other bring me that make us all together better. So we said maybe we should strengthen individuals, make them realize their potential, and maybe also the group they're belonging to, creating database of competences of, that's for the older people, creating all, collecting all their knowledges, and making it available to everyone, to the community. So that's what I'm doing there, shared resource. And getting the condition necessary to apply in table context, which is that we have a generation A, or a culture A, and it works for every kind of group. You can be, young, olders, men, women, HR, employees, different positions. And the other one, those are the three conditions. There are other conditions, but those are really elemental conditions for it to work. It's status equality. You can't have we can't have a good relation if you consider the other one always on a different hierarchy or a different, not hierarchy, because hierarchy in companies you can't do with it, but you have to consider it as an equal. Not someone above you or under you, but someone who can bring you something and someone you can get something from. You have to share a common goal. Otherwise, it's not a community. It's just an assembly of people. If the community share the same impulse to do something, then they all together into that impulse. Without that, it's not a community. And you have to get support from the institution or structure. In that case, the structure would be the company, but in a real-life context, it would be a municipality, as an example. A municipality would give you a structure, would give you places. That's what happened here. We have places, and that's already starting the building of a community. This is a community, by the way. We're all there to share this presentation. Or not. I don't care. Yeah. I already lost my notes. Okay. So this is an example of the tool I developed in my 2 years in Germany. For that concept, I'm presenting them to you. We publish books about it, so I can give it to you, but it's in German, so.
You can
I love German.
Yeah, you can at least look at it.
I will give you an overview on it. So it's three of the many tools that we developed. It's the more representative. Give you some results. So we needed tools that would work on the group level. That would be for groups, and tools that would work on an individual level, because strengthening the individuals can also make them available to the group. So we needed to work on those two levels always. The first is a workshop in 4 phases. I will develop more. And it supports, it's exactly what it does. It supports the development of a community. It combines resources from the different person and how to bring it together and how to overcome stereotypes, because that's usually the main obstacle, main resistance to it. The other two, the first one is a self-care program. It's a coaching, it's based on psychology. I don't know if I told you I was a student in social psychology. Yeah, maybe. That's why it's really social psychology oriented. It's coaching program that make people realize their potential. Because usually people have different experiences in their life, and they go some places, they go to work there, they do some internships, they go to university, they meet different people, and they build something, but sometimes they don't realize it because they don't use it. So we need to help people realize that everything they've seen, everything they've done, all the people they met, it's building something in there. It's building competences, something that they could reuse in another concept, they could bring to the community. But if they don't know that they had it, it's lost, and it's a shame. So we try to verbalize that. The profiler is somehow sharing that point of view that a company needs to have a database of the competences of their employees. Companies are a community. They also need to know the competences of everyone in their group in order to better. If I have a project, I want to build a school somewhere, and this is my community, this is my resources, my human resources, but I need only 3 kind of really special competences to start. Maybe do some research on the ground or something. I need to know which person to contact first, which person would be my first step to do. So it's good to have a map of everything that is available. Yeah, so I'll give further. This is just a picture of what we did, so don't worry if you can't see it really well, I will explain better. This is the workshop we've been doing. It starts with bringing, you have to have two groups of different people. You are in a room, in a company, you have you need one group of older workers and one group of younger workers, and you start with them. Small groups is always better to work. So you have those 2 groups. They will start to work separately at the beginning. It's because the first step is the exploration phase. It's verbalize the stereotypes we have or the representation we have toward the other group. So first they work separately. We have the young group. You have the young group who will work together and the old group who will work together. First, each group receives a list of 40 adjectives that comes from the literature, that come from surveys, that come from different experiences already. And they receive those 40 adjectives. It's a list of adjectives. And each group needs to pick 10 to describe the other group and 10 to describe our group. They can only use one adjective. And where it gets interesting is that we don't tell them what those adjectives represent. They need then to decide if those adjectives are representing a positive characterization or negative characterization. That means that slowly they're already getting an idea of how they see the other group and how they see their group. So they do that, the other group do the same, they pick 10 for them, they pick 10 for the others. And we will visualize it on board. Make sudden, okay, put your adjectives there for you, put your adjectives there. We have a color. This is just for visual representation, we will use the color of that. What I need to tell you more about that? They assess the adjective with plus or minus, and not only if it's positive or negative, but also in a company context. Is this characteristics that you've given to your group or to the other group, is it conducive to innovation? Do you need to have it to be innovative? Or is it obstructive to innovation? Do you want to avoid having that characteristic? So already we're trying to build a representation of what is in the mind of the people. The result differs every time. They differ with different groups, pick different adjectives. It's always interesting. So we are creating the self-perception and external perceptions for each group. This is how it works. This is our young group. This is our testing phases. I only took pictures during that phases, the testing phases. So, and this is how it looks like. That's the old group. They put their adjectives for the old group and they put the adjective for the young group with plus or minus. Quite simple. The second phase is the interesting one. It's the reflection phase. Each group comes back to the middle with their board, and they discover what the others told about them. First, we asked each group to pick a representative and to describe what the other group said. So they took a younger to describe what the other said. And it's always interesting because sometimes they say, oh, with the old group, we think the young people will told about us that we're slow, we are communicative, but we don't really are good with technique or something like that. Sometimes they have self-representation of themselves. And when they arrive there and they see what the young people speak for them, they're really surprised because sometimes they have more positive than negative things. That's always good to verbalize those things. It's always good to discover that maybe the representation you have about you or the representation you have about the other group's representation about you is just wrong. And that's might be what causes conflict, or because we just assume that the other group will be discriminative toward us, so we are discriminating also toward the other group. Just in case the discriminator will also discriminate. But maybe it's just all in your head. So, yeah. So uncovering stereotypes and realizing the specific competences. It's also already preparing the third phase because they say, okay, this is positive, we keep it, this is negative, well, maybe we left it out. And what they will do with those two blackboards, the whiteboards that they will have, they will build the third phases. And that means they will take only the positive adjective, they will throw out the negative for each group, and they will bring it all together. So they will have a competence profile. From those adjectives, they will say, okay, this description of an adjective that can be connected somewhere in a competence in a company. You have someone who is patient, who can accept other people's point of view. Can he be good in communicative competences? So with the adjective of the first and second phase, we try to build competences. And then somehow, by discussion, all the young people and the older people will build a competence profile competence for the old people and competence profile for the younger people. It's in the context of this workshop. It doesn't mean that it's true for another company, or it doesn't mean that it's true for another department, but with those groups, that's what they can build together. So they have a profile for young, older, and a profile for young people. That's like that. This is a talking phases. I have older people here because during the testing phases, I did it in an intergenerational room, WG. David?
Dormitory.
Yeah, it's not dormitory. It's a house where many generations live together. And I used it for my testing phase, so that's why the pictures are not company.
Social housing.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's a house where many generations live together. It's a community.
No.
Yeah, so that's what it looks like on the paper.
Something like normal town.
Sorry?
Like normal town or village.
Yeah, but it's
Why?
a house.
Why we need? Okay.
It's
I understand.
It's like you have it's roommates. They're all roommates.
Yeah, I understand.
They share one
It's
kitchen.
normal. It's something which is
Okay.
in our life.
Then it's good.
It's
It's the same kind of thing. It's really exceptional. You have to the final and the point of this workshop. Why we do that? We do that because we need people to realize that in order to complete complex and innovative tasks, such as a project in a company, we need them to realize that they need not always the same persons who have the same profiles, who all the same person who comes from the same school, the same background. We need them to realize that they need competences and experience for every different people, from every group. They can't just ignore one group. We need them to realize that they need from everybody. They need competences from the young, they need competences from the old, they need competences from women, they need competences from men. So that's why we do that, because we ask the company what would be a very complex task, or task where we need many people to work on. This is team building, actually. And we asked them then to write the title of the task. We asked them what needs to be done. What is the first step? What is the second step? What is the third step? They write all the steps for completing this project. And then next to the first step, and next to each step, we ask them which competence do you need? Which competences do you need from the board from before? And then they will pick red cards from the young, blue cards from the old, maybe another red card. And when you see that here, you don't only have a red part, or you don't have only a blue card, then when you realize this is a community, this is what you need. You need from every group something. At different stage, it's okay, you can have one stage where it's only red, but for the final complex project, you need everyone. So that's the purpose of this workshop. What can I tell you to conclude this workshop? We've been trying to do it, we've been doing 3 times, so in company, so it's new, we finished writing it this year, so I can't give you feedback on how it works on in a long time, but I can already tell you from the early stage that it's only 2 things. Talking about it is good, and just to tell people in the company that we're going to do something with them, they already make super happy. They're already happy that they're not only employees, they're not faceless people, but that the team leader, the manager, or the HR, they care about them. And just that, it boosts them for another 6 months. So that's what I can tell you for the early stage peer experiences. That was for the group level, but now you need also people who feel confident about themselves, who knows that they have things that they can afford, who don't feel isolated. So that's why we got ourselves down to the individual level. And I don't want to tell you many things about it. It's really a coaching program, face-to-face with a psychologist who will do the program. And what it is, as I told you, summarize competences, discover what this person can do, what this person has been doing in her life or his life, and tell them, yeah, that you can do it, you have to capitalize it, you have to use it, it's good, you can do it, you're not useless, you can do that. And find maybe the aspect where this person might not be good enough, and maybe strengthen it, and maybe accept that this person can't do everything, it's also okay, but focus on what this person can do, and how this person can bring, what this person can bring to the community. So be self-confident, be sure about yourself, and also, it's quite clear, I think. The profiler, as I told you, it has been developed in an IT company, so it's a software, it's online software, where people just go there and they have some, it's a database where you can say, okay, my name is that, I'm this employee, I can do that, and it's also making people realize that you can do a lot of things, but it's trying to build a database for why is it good? It's because you can identify skills, you know which people have what, and you know who to contact, as I told you in the example at the beginning. If you have a project, you know that this person might be the good person, or maybe someone else, and you can adapt each project. Yeah, and you can also identify, that's also good for companies, identification of training needs. Maybe this person started doing this formation, then they gave up, and maybe it might be good for this person if she wants to work on something a bit above, or if she wants to make progress in the company. Maybe you can prepare a training program for this person, so you can better know it, because companies have no idea, maybe they have thousands of employees, so it helps structure the company, or it helps structure the community. Conclusion. In our case, building community, building group, and not individual or not subgroup that would fight against each other. In our case, it was what oriented us. It was our main goal. It was how can we respond to the demographic change? How can we respond to the competitive environment? How can we respond to the individual self-individualization of the society? How can we respond to the economic crisis? How can we respond to a lot of factors that forced us to do something? So maybe that was the answer. I put question mark because I didn't want just to impose my view, but that's not a question mark. This is my answer. This is the answer. In order to do that, I think you can't skip that part. Actually, you have to define what is the person, what is that person. You have to know yourself, and you have to know the person you're with. And you have what I want to say. You have to define what connects them. What is the impulse of the community? If not, there's no connection. It's just a bunch of people who all bring together. You have to find what is the link between, what is the missing link between people and the impulse. This is important also. Why we strengthen the individual is because you don't want to forget yourself. You don't want to get too involved in the community and just disappear. If you want to bring something to the community, if you want to be useful to the community, you have to keep a little part of yourself. Do not lose yourself. Yourself is important. You are part of the community, so do not disappear. Confident, conscious of one's strengths. That's what I was looking for earlier. It's really important to be conscious of what you can do and what you can't do, and accept that also. Yeah, knowledge and formative. And learning for complementary. I wanted to finish on complementary. I had a great definition of complementary. It's a relationship or situation in which two of or more different things improve or emphasize one other quality. So I just want to finish on that. This is the book, but it's a bit boring. Thank you.
Any questions? Anyone?
We start the discussion now. There's some questions to ask him to...
Аз имам въпрос, само ако може Калин да проведе.
Или някой друг.
Да. То на български въпрос. Във вашия опит, който сте имали, дали сте имали случаи, в които някои от хората не са изразявали външно са изразявали несъгласие с това да участват в това, което правите, и как бихте могли да се справите с един такъв проблем?
So, in your experience, have you had instances where people felt reluctant to take part in what you offer to them, and how did you cope with those cases?
Okay, interesting question. Thank you. Reluctance usually came from the company, from the hierarchy, because they say we don't want to lose time, we don't want to lose money on doing that. But when we explain them that we're not doing that for money, it's free, and that we explain them that they can gain from that, that their innovational process in the company can reuse that method, they start to say, okay, let's give it a try. And it's completely voluntary. We don't force people from stop working, come to this room, we're doing a workshop. It is really voluntary. So we didn't have to face really those moments where people weren't willing to participate, because this is really voluntary. But as I told you, the climate, the working environment in certain companies, not everyone, but in certain companies in France, especially sometimes in Germany, they are under high pressure working. They need things to be done. They work 10 hours a day or more. This is really pressure. At least it's not sustainable working way of working. They're working 200%, and it's not good for them. So when someone comes and say, "Hi, I don't care what you're producing. I just want to improve your relationships with your colleagues," they're happy most of the time. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But it's because it's a company. I don't know the community in another context. Maybe they just don't care. I haven't been facing this.
Okay.
Can this method be used not only to
clarify the connection between generations or different groups, but also between the workers and the company itself.
Yeah, if you give me a definition of which person you put behind company.
I mean, between the different levels of the company.
Yeah.
Between the workers and the
Yeah.
management.
Between the employers and the employee.
Yeah.
Yes, with partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Many answers to that question. It's a good question. Yes, you can do it. You have to make them forget the status inequality. If not, it won't work. You have to give them a task where they don't need to say, I'm the chief. You have to if there's a chief, it's okay. But give them a task where they don't have to find again the system of the chief and the employees. You have to be really careful, but it's okay. And we've been doing the first stage of the workshop. That means uncovering stereotypes and how you perceive the other group, how you perceive your group. It's also important to know how you perceive your group. We've been doing that with, it wasn't really chief and employees, but we've been doing that with doctors and nurses in hospital. And that was really interesting. A lot of conflict because it's not hierarchical. Doctors are not the chief of the nurses, but everyone in the society thinks it's working like that. And especially the doctors, they're ordering the nurses everywhere. It's driving them crazy. The young doctors are saying that, do that to the old nurses who've been doing this job for 30 years. And she said, what is he telling me to do that? I know better. So I think it's really good to use it. But be always careful with hierarchical stages. Be careful of how you present it. Make it appear in a way that they don't have to rely on their status system. But I think it's working here.
I can think of two ways. Sorry. One is to get them to do something which you're sure that the employees are better at than the employer.
Could be.
Or get the employers to know exactly what the employees do during their day. Like maybe the employees can show their work process, show the software they work to their bosses who've in some cases have never seen it, have no idea what their employees are doing.
I think
So that it might be a good way.
I think this is a great idea, and you always have to know something is that employees can show something to the boss, and he can learn. It's an exchange, and boss have to show something that they're doing to the employees. Always giving and taking, and it's great. I think it can work. Not that or that, just these stages, going and from each part, but not one part of the other. I think it's a solution.
Freedom, right?
Sorry.
Kind of freedom.
Yeah, you have to be careful with freedom because each person
I know.
have a different definition of
It's
freedom.
a responsibility, you know.
Yeah.
It's a responsibility.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Question?
Maybe between the mayor and the administration of the municipality.
I think the result would be interesting. For sure. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Questions? Something to add? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I don't know who's next.
Thank you very much for it. Was it better for us? I apologize because I'm so it's going to be very interesting.
I just thought, oh, you really don't want to hear me. I just, maybe I missed quick or so. Damn you, you don't want to listen. No, it's not.